Hello and welcome back to our living room at Effet Comté. A special welcome if this is your first time on this channel. Here we'll have one consistent goal: to give you useful tools to define your path of value authentically and without shortcuts. I'm Federica, and today we're diving into my experience here in the Principality of Monaco. We'll see where to start if you're thinking about moving. Over the time, I've helped friends and professionals to take their first step here, from finding a job or a home or simply explaining how to open a bank account. So, having gone through it myself and having guided others, I'm happy to share some techniques to bypass the most common problems. But before we get into the details, here's a spoiler. The mantra here in Monaco, especially at the beginning, is don't let the entry barrier discourage you. In fact, you should know that there is a whole series of procedures that are simply filters the Principality uses to naturally screen applicants. But don't worry, if you're someone who doesn't give up at the first hurdle, I'll show you how, with a few targeted tips, you can handle everything smoothly. Let's take it step by step, starting with the hardest part, figuring out where to live. Anyone wanting to settle in Monaco must consider that its beauty, security, and undeniable charm are at the very high price. Just to give you a rough idea, a 25-30 square meter studio apartment can cost between 2,000 and 3,500 per month. Now, you might say, living close to work is priceless luxury, but at the beginning, it's not always the most suitable or affordable choice. And so, we come to the first solution. I'll reveal the strategy that almost everyone who doesn't want to give up on living in Monaco adopts. It's to literally keep one foot in Europe and take advantage of the nearby French communes, which are in fact a natural extension of the Principality and are often mistaken for its districts at first. The first option is Beausoleil, which is basically a balcony over Monaco. It allows you to walk down to work, with rents for a studio dropping from around 900 to 1,300 per month. A perfect compromise between convenience and savings. Then, the second is Cap d'Ail, overlooking the sea, elegant and very well connected. Here prices are similar, maybe a touch higher than Beausoleil, between 1,000 and 1,400 euros, especially for apartments with a view. The last one, third, is Roquebrune Cap Martin, often the most accessible of the three, where you can find options between 800 and 1,200 per month. I know that you're thinking, those rents are still high, and you're right, and soon you'll discover why, in some ways, it's still worth it to live there. Coffee break in the living room. Before we continue, a quick note on a key piece of information. In Monaco, there's a legal minimum wage, called SMIG, which, unsurprisingly, is higher than the European average. To give you an idea, in 2025, we're talking about 2,000 euros gross per month for a 39-hour week, which applies to everyone and in every sector. Understanding this helps you put the cost of living into perspective. But let's get back to where to live. If even the first three options seem out of reach, you can always consider another type of compromise, the one between travel time and rent savings. Here, there are three logical choices. First is Nice. If you love city, nightlife, and services, this is a perfect choice. It's very well connected by train. You can be in Monaco in 20 to 30 minutes. The only downside is the rush hour, when the trains are packed. Menton is a 15-minute train ride away. It's a quieter time, and that's the closest to the Italian border. And lastly, there's Ventimiglia, where in Italy in this case, it's the most economical choice, similar to Nice in terms of commute, about 30 minutes by train, but with Italian living costs. There are other towns on the coast between Nice and Monaco you can consider: Villefranche, Beaulieu, and Èze. They are all at the same train line. Anyway, regardless the location you choose, my heartfelt advice is this: don't go much farther than these distances. What you saved on rent, you risk paying in fatigue and quality of life. and don't say that I didn't warn you. Okay, now that you have an idea of where, let's talk about how. Let's assume that you have decided to rent an apartment in France. First, you need a system, and the magic word is dossier. Don't be scared, it's just a collection of documents that prove who you are and that you are reliable. You'll need it for many things, not just for housing, but for renting in particular. They will mainly ask you for two things: a valid ID and a residence visa if you are a non-European citizen, and the proof that you can pay, which means your guarantees. This can be a work contract, your latest tax return, or a garant. Basically, a person or an entity that co-signs for you and commits to pay the rent if you can. In many cases, especially for students or new workers, this is an essential requirement. Remember this golden rule. Almost always your salary or guarantors must be at least 3 times the amount of the rent. If you're interested, I'll dedicate a whole video to prepare the perfect dossier and the best websites to house hunting. For now, know that the best channels remain online portals, local agencies, and social media groups. And now we reached the piece of the puzzle that changes everything. The one that explains why the choice of where to live is so strategic. Finding a job in Monaco is not impossible, but you need to know the rules of the game. There's a hiring priority hierarchy, and you can picture it as a concentric circles. The very center, with absolute priority, are Monegasque citizens, to whom the Principality guarantees strong protection to preserve local employment. Right after come Monaco residents. In the third circle are residents of the neighboring communes we talked about, Beausoleil, Cap d'Agde, and Roquebrune, and that explains why rents there are higher. Living there can give you a huge competitive advantage. The farther away you live, the more specialized and in demand your skills need to be to overcome those who live closer. For non-European citizens, the challenge is greater but not impossible, especially if a company truly believes in your profile and can prove that there are no equivalent candidates in the priority radius. A very similar logic applies to internships, but we'll talk about that in a dedicated video to explore every possibility. At this point, you might think, great, but I don't live there now, so I'm at a disadvantage. And that's not true. It just means that you need to build your trajectory. Here are 4 practical steps to bridge the gap. Get physically closer. Find a temporary solution, even a room or a co-living space, from the first few months. Putting a local address on your CV makes a difference you can imagine. Align your profile. Study Monaco's key factors and sectors, finance, luxury, yachting, hospitality, and figure out how to adapt your skills. Even if you're just starting, show concrete results and solid reference. The only rule, be honest. Third, get known. Attend events, job fairs, and join the right networks. Try to ensure that when you send your CV, your name isn't completely new to them. Fourth, be reachable. If you don't already live in France, invest in few euros for a French phone number. There are very simple online phone companies, and it shows that you're already operational and easy to contact. These are small tricks, but together they build a bridge toward your goal. As you can see, moving to and working in Monaco isn't a mission impossible, but a journey made of strategic steps. Today, in our living room, we have laid the first bricks to build the foundation of your adventure, which is exactly the purpose of this space, to give you clear, concrete tools, share experiences, and help you chart your own course. Now, I'm handing it over to you. Write in the comments what is the biggest doubt holding you back, what topics would you like to cover in the next videos. Your questions will shape our future meetings. They will guide us to go deeper, because here we don't chase easy growth, but growth that creates value. And in the end, the two are indistinguishable. Thanks for watching. I'll be waiting for you in our living room in the next video. Bye!